Hi, so you're interested in 3D cameras and you're looking into the Kandao Qoocam Ego. Well, if you want to know what it is and what it can do, you come to the right place. First, a quick intro about me. I am a professional cinematographer, so I shoot with high-end cameras and I do feature films and TV series and that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to look at the Qoocam as a professional camera because it is not a professional camera. It is a consumer camera with a battery that lasts about 1 hour. However, I think it's good enough for shooting 3D. I'm actually shooting with it right now. The camera that is shooting me is the Kandao Ego, and it's actually okay. It has 1080p per eye. It records on MPEG-4, 8 bits. We can't select what compression we want or the ratio of compression we want. It's MP4, it's heavily compressed, and anything in a distance is going to literally go down to mush, but anything in the foreground holds decently well, and in a headset actually looks quite good, and you can appraise it using an additional software. It's going to look better, but it's not going to do any miracles. So what can this camera do and what can't this camera do? So it's the only 3D stereoscopic camera on the market right now. We had the VR 180s, but even those are discontinued, so this is pretty much the only solution now. It has no microphone inputs, it has no headphones out, because it is a very small camera and it is a consumer camera. So if you want to hear the sound from the camera, I'm going to cut to the sound right now. So this is me using the internal microphones of the camera, and you can decide if it's good enough. So the lenses are the equivalent of 28mm on a 35mm camera, so it's wide-ish. Also, the field of view is different between the photo and the video. So video, it goes tighter, it punches in. The lenses are 65mm apart, which is wider than most stereoscopic cameras. Usually the lenses are a lot closer together. The good thing about the wider lenses is the 3D effect is better. The distance between the lenses should be equivalent to the distance from our eyes. So the average interpupillary distance, so the distance between the eyes on a human, is about 63mm, but you can go anywhere from 50 to 70-ish. So 65 is pretty decent, and it does give you a good sense of three-dimensionality, which is what we really want on a 3D camera. The white balance is automatic, so there's no manual white balance. Kandao, if you're looking at this, please give us control on the white balance. Exposure-wise, the camera only has auto exposure, so Kandao, again, please give us manual exposure, or at least give us exposure lock. That's not difficult to do. It will be a very easy firmware upgrade, because it's really a pain when we try to set our exposure, and then as soon as we move the camera, it goes woo, 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 woo. Come on. At least an exposure lock, so we can actually pan the camera and keep a decent exposure so we don't blow the highlights. Another issue with the exposure is it's a step exposure, so every time you move the camera, you will see it change in steps, which is really annoying and makes it unusable. From the last firmware upgrade, they did tackle that. Thank you, Kandao. It's much better now. You can still see it, but it's a lot more controlled. But again, an exposure lock will solve that issue. Another point that I need to address is focus. So this camera has a fairly wide-ish sensor. So each sensor is a half-an-inch sensor. So it's fairly wide for a small camera. So it's fairly big. It's bigger than most sensors on phones. So that's really good. The issue is focus. There's no focus aids, there's no focus picking, so you can see what's in focus and what's not in focus. So it's basically impossible to know, unless you measure with a tape measure, it's impossible to see pretty much what's in focus. You got macro, portrait, and landscape. In macro, you got two different distances. So the first one starts at 25mm and goes into 35, which is roughly 0.9 feet to 1.2 feet. And then the second macro goes from 30 centimeters to 50 centimeters, which is roughly 1.1 to 1.7 feet. And then in portrait, you got two modes. The first one goes from 40 to 70 centimeters, which is roughly 1.3 to 2.3 feet. And the second one goes from 70 to 1 meter, which is 2.2 to 3.7 feet. In this case, I'm roughly at 70 centimeters from the camera, so I had to change the focus so it's correct on me. But does it work? I don't know. I will see in post, and so will you. I'm not going to redo this because of that. And then the last mode is landscape, which is from 1 meter to infinity and beyond, which is the safest way to shoot. Just put it in infinity and you know that everything from 1 meter onwards will be sharp. Another thing I need to say is that the files in this camera do not have a 3D metadata, so you can't really upload them the way they are to YouTube. YouTube will not recognize, so you have to inject metadata. Maybe it's something they can address with a firmware update, but as it stands now, yeah, you can't really upload straight to YouTube. You have to go through other softwares, inject metadata, and then upload to YouTube. Stabilization. The camera doesn't have in-body stabilization or doesn't do stabilization in camera, but you can do it through the app. The app is quite simple, it's quite useful. You can download the footage, then upload it to whatever you want. You can preview what you're doing. It's a simple app, but it works. Photo-wise, the camera shoots JPEG, 4,000 per 3,000 pixels. Yeah, 4,000 by 3,000 pixels, which is quite okay. It's literally 4K. But because it's side by side, so the total resolution on the side by side is going to be 8,000 by 4,000, which is pretty big. So the photos are a decent quality, and there's not, they don't have the issue of the compression that the video has. So photos are quite okay. Okay, that's it. The last thing I will say is maybe a consideration about 3D. Will 3D come back? The only thing we know for sure is that all the previous iterations of 3D have failed, so it was a success in that way, successful failure, because mostly the change was not pushed by the consumer, it was pushed by the manufacturers. They wanted to sell more stuff. Today, with all the new technology and the headsets from all the virtual headsets, the VR headsets, those headsets are 3D, so they are stereoscopic. So there is a need for stereoscopic content so people can see videos of people in 3D headsets, because there's no point having a 3D headset if everything you're going to see is 2D. So in that sense, there is a push from the consumers towards 3D, which might make this a bit more successful. Also, the new technology, the new light field technology that allows you to see 3D in a flat screen without glasses is coming along quite nicely. There's quite a few products out there. Sony is also working on light field technology. You got a LuMPad from Leica that does light field. You can see 3D in a flat screen. You got the Looking Glass that is holographic, which is kind of the same but different, but you can see 3D within that glass. So I think 3D might come back. The important thing is that the implementation of those technologies is correct and is on par with what we have today. If that happens, if I can see 3D in an iPad or in a tablet with the same definition and as easy as 2D images, then it will be a success. If it's not as good, if the image is really bad, or if it's difficult to move around and to see stuff, then obviously it will be a failure. We will see. Okay, that's it. See you guys.